if you guys seen the review, you kind of got a gist of what this movie is about. We're about to dive right into this full discussion. And if you made it this far, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Origins is a movie based off of the book called Cast, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. It was written for the screen by Ava DuVernay. And I have to say, it is absolutely phenomenal. I think that I'm definitely going to be diving into this book. However, just what was presented on screen was absolutely phenomenal. And I don't even know if those words justify what I witnessed here. You know what? My wife's movie of the year, I believe it was her movie of the year, 1001. It came earlier or midway through kind of the season last year. And I would be hard pressed to see a film beat this.
Right. And I was actually thinking the exact same thing.
Listen, man, when I was sitting there with tears in my eyes, of course, trying to hide them. But good thing that it's all black in the theater. But
well, I can truly say that I cried a few times. My lash was lifting by the time we left the movie theater. This movie was so profound.
Yes.
It takes you through a few different stories of starting off with Trayvon Martin, and then it takes you to a couple in Germany,
a German and a Jewish woman,
and a Jew. Then it takes you.
Then there was the fair-skinned people who were in Berlin. Right,
they started out in Berlin, but they were more so doing some. Like, in a sense, undercover work, trying to do some research. And they started out in Berlin, and then they gravitate to.
And then they were actually warned by a German person. They were actually warned by a German person, like, you have no idea what's going on, right? He approaches them and says that to them, and they're like, no, we don't know. And this was the beginning stages of what was, of course, to become the Holocaust.
Right.
And
definitely.
He told them to go back home. They were looking for a particular book that was on the ban list now.
Yep.
Because they asked the lady, I thought she was just the librarian, and she could have been being a B or whatever you want to call it, right? But a part of her may have been, I couldn't really judge where she was coming from, right? And that could have been a good acting on her part, right?
I think that she was actually, how it came off to me, as if she was a German. She was a German librarian, and of course they were asking for a Jewish book. And at that time they were burning all of the Jewish, all of their books and materials, all of their history. They were the start of that was to burn all that they knew,
right?
You know, before they started.
Well, I guess what I was trying to get at was I couldn't tell if she was kind of like snobbish towards them or if she was actually hurt, because librarians be really into their craft. If she was actually hurt that this book was being about to be destroyed, so when they asked when are we supposed to return it, she was just like, you know what I'm saying? Could have been a bit of both, actually.
Right.
I have no idea, but
I thought she was being a snob.
She could have been. She could have answered the question. However, I've just found the intricacies and the interconnectedness of all of those stories to be absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfectly blend. And the emotional roller coaster that this movie takes you on is something that I haven't experienced since 1001 with Tiana Taylor. In the movie, I should say. It is really something that I haven't experienced since then. And I just believe that every citizen of this world, that's literally what I put on our Instagram post, every citizen of this world should see this movie.
Definitely.
I think it is a masterpiece in empathy. If you don't, there's got to be one of those stories has to touch your heart.
Right.
You got to be a straight demon.
Right.
Literally, like, all jokes aside, you have to be a straight demon not to be affected by any one of these stories in here, because showing how the Germans and the Jews were. I mean, now we do not consider Well, I'm kind of iffy about that, but now it seems as if we don't consider Jews white, and it seems as if they don't want to be considered white until it suits them.
Right.
Right. But, and I mean, that's just how it comes off, right?
Right. At least here.
At least here in America.
Right.
But then you can see the love between those two.
Right.
So what we find is that the movie really illustrated how we can really be inhumane towards one another.
Right.
It's as if we always trying to find some reason to have someone at the bottom
Right.
and someone at the top. It didn't even matter. It doesn't matter the color of
Right.
your skin. And that's what she was really trying to get at, was that we view everything.
Exactly.
We view everything as racism here.
Right.
And because we got this American lens, though.
Right. And like you said, we only see it from our perspective. I haven't truly gotten away from the feeling that a lot of what we experience isn't still racism. But even if it started out being racism here, we found out through the movie that the Germans were studying how white Americans were treated.
Jim Crow laws, to be
Right.
specific.
Right.
Yeah.
How they were treating African Americans here, and they were adapting that into how they were going to then treat the Jews.
Yeah, it was that was something.
Never
It blew my
knew,
mind.
Right. I never knew that was a part of.
Yes, it really blew my
their
mind.
History.
And an official picture is like hanging up.
Right.
An official picture is hanging up in the movie. At least they displayed it in the movie, and I'm sure it's factual. Don't get me wrong, but it was hanging up in the movie, and she comes across it, and that's when she kind of made that connection that she was looking for, because she didn't have that knowledge when she had that conversation over dinner with a Jewish couple. Definitely. And when the lady was saying that, and I agree with the woman at that time. I did, and somewhat I still agree. She was saying that it's not connected because, if I'm not mistaken, the way she explained it was, you guys were subjugated for labor.
Right.
Meaning African Americans.
Right.
We were
for labor and to make a profit off
and to make a profit off of. They just wanted to exterminate us.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want to sound as if I'm not being sensitive. I'm saying that if the goal was purely to exterminate, what would be the need for the camps?
Right.
You know, and don't get me wrong. Listen, I know that there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily taught. They were experimenting on a lot of Jewish people. Right. And I get you would keep some, you know, that they were experimenting on a lot of Jewish people, but they were really just capturing them. They were capturing them and throwing them in concentration camps, right? And in America, it's not said a lot. It's not common history. So maybe a lot of Jewish people Jewish or German people don't even know that part. But we were experimenting on as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not too far from where we are, STD experimentations, all type of foolishness. They experimented on us like we were lab rats, and and that's what kind of angered her in the story, was that you're trying to give yourself a singularity in your pain, in your ancestors' pain, as if there is no connectedness there.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And she was, and then when you think about the maturity of her to say, this isn't just a white issue, because you both were white. Right. Or you both had that, you both were white descent. Right. And she was saying that this conversation is really about to this might be going left field, man, because you start talking about white descent and Jewish people, and it's a lot of people who see there's a difference between race and ethnicity. Right. And it's kind of hard to say this stuff without hurting people's feelings and making them feel some type of way. Mm-hmm. But that's what this story does. Right. This story invites you to think. Right. This story invites a conversation. Mm-hmm. This story makes you kind of try to get above and outside of yourself. Right. In a sense, right? Definitely. So I think I'm gonna try to rein back on talking about this because it starts to dive into a conversation that would probably better be suited on our podcast.
Right.
I will say another thing that struck me was in some of the best conversations always happen at a table. Mm-hmm. Notice that in American fiction they were sitting at a table. That was one of the best conversations in there. The conversation at the dinner table was profound.
Definitely.
When they started talking about, what were they talking about? The symbolisms here,
mm-hmm.
the symbolisms here in America, and how the swastika is something that's not tolerated in the least
at all
in Germany.
It comes with a minimum of 3 years imprisonment.
Wait a minute, I totally forgot you are a German. I totally forgot that. No, seriously, I'm sitting here talking and I totally forgot that.
Not a German. I was
Bitteschön.
Thanks to the military, I was born in Germany. So I'm not of German descent, so let's not get that twisted.
You don't know that?
Well, I don't. However, I think Ancestry did pull up a little, but anyway, that is not not the majority of what makes up who I am.
Right.
But I was born in Germany, so it was enlightening to
mm-hmm.
know. However, I do have, now that you say that, I do have a brother who is German.
Yep.
However, so it's enlightening to know a little bit more of that history. But one thing we haven't talked about is how they also incorporated the story as she portrayed this and explained the caste system. They portrayed the story of the Indians as well.
Well, while you're searching for that, I do want to get back to that conversation at the table, because just the fact, I really want to touch on a few things. How literally no one is allowed to bear swastikas.
Right.
No one, all of the monuments that they claim, oh, this is just history, are completely eradicated from society. No one will ever know about that. Like ever. Like here we have the Confederate flag, and it was pointed out. I'm so glad that they pointed out that it is part of Mississippi's state flag. No,
we discovered that's you,
because you got so much commonality in here. But anyway,
but that one is actually more you. I don't nothing of
that's
mine
ancestry, man.
That.
Whatever. But it's part of the Confederate flag being part of Mississippi state flag. Mm-hmm. To me, it's just absolutely disgusting. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care, man. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Right, and just the fight to have statues removed here
is
like pulling teeth, because everybody wants to go, oh, it's a part of history,
yeah,
or this doesn't mean this to us. However, in Germany, that is not the case.
Right. I can't see that being the case in any other country in the world where you would defeat an ideology and still allow it to fester.
Right.
None other place. I can't think of none other place that would allow that. So only here where we act as if we're so strong, but are we really? Mentally, we come weak. Me tearing down your statues is gonna cause you to you get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's gonna cause you to lose your mind. Then mentally, how's that strength?
Okay, so it was Dalits were the group of
mm-hmm.
individuals in India who are considered to be the lowest class, and in their culture, someone has to be at the bottom. Well, that seems to be a part of everybody's culture, but the ones that are at the bottom in India, they're considered the untouchables. So they can't touch anything
mm-hmm.
that the people in these upper classes are able to touch.
Right.
It's so gruesome that their job is to go in and clean the poop of
mm-hmm.
every individual
mm-hmm.
with their bare hand, more than their bare hands, their entire body.
Yes.
was covered just to clean
on his face,
right,
mouth,
he
everything.
had to dip his entire body.
Just think about getting sick. Think about,
right.
I mean,
and they said the only thing that protected them was the oil that they put on in the morning before they
started.
Really, when we got to understanding more of that story, it just showed how it really depicted how the caste system works.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you go further, I want to illustrate a point here. Because that's going on today.
Oh, definitely.
That isn't something, because it seemed as if you were talking past tense.
Oh,
and
no,
I know you were talking past tense to the movie, but I want to be clear to everyone listening. That is currently going on right now. Mm-hmm. It's insane, man.
Right.
It's insane and inhumane.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't even think they would treat their dogs like that.
No.
Throw the dog in the. I mean, but you would let us do it, man. That I just can't, man. And this is brown.
Right.
And a part of me wonder, how in the world do you know who is a Dalit though?
I have.
Is it because of their dress?
Probably. To me, it reminded me of.
For that matter, how you know who was a Jew?
Because for the Holocaust, it was about you had to have blonde hair and blue eyes.
That was false, because every Jewish person did not have blonde hair, blue eyes. So you tell me that? I mean, every German didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes. So you telling me that? So you telling me that a lot of Germans falsely got accused as being Jewish? And
I'm quite sure some did, but I was going
that tell you how silly that mess is,
right? But I was going on to say that I think it has more so to do with how you live. A lot of even us here in America, we are categorized based off of income, where you live, how you live, what you have, what your net worth is. That's how we are now categorized. We are still categorized, of course, by the color of our skin here in America, but those are other factors that come into place. So it really wasn't said in the movie how they were categorized in India. However, that's how I kind of looked at it, because if you look at the depiction of the little boy, based off of how he dressed versus how the other classmates dressed, his clothes were more worn and torn in comparison to theirs.
But look at the perseverance too.
Right.
Look at he did not let that situation dissuade him.
He probably was the smartest kid in the class that didn't have a desk and had to sit in the back of the classroom. Who couldn't drink water, pour his water. Someone had to come
and pour it on his mouth
and pour water
because they couldn't touch him.
Right. She also, and we didn't touch on. She also did the interview of Al Bright, who had, at the time that she wrote the book, had passed. But she interviewed one of...
towards the end of the movie.
Right. She interviewed one of his former baseball teammates.
Older white gentleman.
Right.
Yeah.
And how they had won their game, and the team the team had went to the pool for a celebration. And of course, this was an all-white pool, and they didn't even allow him in the gate. Well, at first he walked in,
right, and
then when whoever managed the pool saw him, they wouldn't allow him into the gate. He had to sit on the other side of the gate.
Yep.
And his teammates, and I forget the name of the guy that she had interviewed about it. He was expressing like how they didn't really understand what was going on.
And how it actually traumatized him as well. Right,
because he said he wished, even though he had done some, because they were, they checked on him, they went and took him food, and, they asked him why was he over there, and things like that. He was saying that he wished he had done more. That's he was just only 9 years old.
Yeah, 10 years old, something like that. And just really dived into how I just really loved the way it was depicted by Miss Ava here. And because, man, it really will have you bawling.
Right.
Like, it really will have you bawling the way that she went about that, and the way that these people were given life. They were given life. Their stories were told through Isabel.
Right.
And the fact that this hatred, it was really depicted how this hatred is taught.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, that's how it keeps going. It's taught.
And that's what she said. It's on us to do our part.
Yeah.
Even now, it's on us to do our part to change this system. I want to give kudos to her because she suffered a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Before even getting the opportunity to write this book.
And the reason why I'm laughing here is because we have been talking about all of the side story. This is everything that we have discussed up to this point is the underlying side stories to her book, right. her life's work.
Right.
It had nothing to do with her personal life yet. Like, we haven't even dived into the stuff that she went through personally. Absolutely. And I think I may, if it's okay, I think I may save the majority of that for you guys to go view for yourselves.
Oh yes.
Because I think we kind of got the heart of the story, but the tragedy that she suffered and how and how the lessons, from her husband being white, right, her mother, how she felt about the Trayvon Martin case, and really how she talked about it, how her cousin, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it would be okay if we reserve that for people to go see. Right. I know we kind of spoil things here. Right.
But it's definite. We have left, I think, more than enough.
Still on the table.
Yes. For you to go and check out this film for yourself. I recommend everybody. You take everybody, your grandma, your grandpa, all the way down to the kids. Because of course we took our son, and he even had questions as to and I actually had to tell him during the theater. I was like, "Look, we're going to have to talk about this afterwards."
Yeah, he was so talkative.
Right, during this, but he was so curious as to know what was going on to really get an understanding.
And is that such a bad thing? It is. I want to say it's a good thing because listen. I can't say we try to teach our kids that there's no color, because that's a lie. Right. There's color. Right. Right. Because I know people say, I don't see color. I get what you're saying. You see the color, but no, there are fundamental differences. Right. But what needs to be learned is having respect for one another in spite of or in love of those differences. Right. Because everybody has their own strengths.
Absolutely.
And it just seems as if we lean into the worst of ourselves sometimes instead of the best of ourselves. Right. So I'm asking everyone to go see this film. Right. To double down on what my wife said. Take everybody you can and go have a moment of empathy. Go share a moment of empathy.